I was pressed against Marcus's chest in his hallway, his military dog tags cold against my flushed skin, when I heard my husband's car pull into our driveway next door. The wedding ring caught the light as I gripped Marcus's shoulders, and for a split second, I thought about stopping. But I did not. This was what David wanted, was it not? An open marriage. Something different. Something to make me feel alive again after 12 years of the same routine, the same bed, the same predictable life. What my husband did not expect was that I would choose the man who lived 15 feet away from us. What I did not expect was that Marcus would make me feel things I had forgotten existed. And what neither of us expected was that this decision would detonate our lives in ways we could never put back together. Before I continue, I want to take a moment to thank every single one of you who have already subscribed to this channel. Your support means the world to me, and it is what keeps these stories coming. To all my new viewers and those of you who have been watching but have not hit that subscribe button yet, I cannot wait for you to join our community. Your subscription is the fuel and energy that keeps powering this channel, and I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. Please do not forget to drop your thoughts in the comments section below. I read every single comment, and I love hearing your perspectives on these stories. Now, let me take you back to where this all began. My name is Sarah. I am 32 years old, and I have been married to David for 12 years. We got married when I was 20, fresh out of college, and he was 36, already established in his career as a corporate attorney. People always commented on our age gap, but I never cared. David was mature, stable, and everything my chaotic childhood was not. He gave me security. He gave me a beautiful home in a quiet suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina. He gave me a life I never dreamed I could have. But somewhere along the way, that security became suffocating. We did not have children. It was not for lack of trying in the early years, but after several disappointments, we just stopped talking about it. We stopped talking about a lot of things, actually. Our conversations became transactional. Did you pay the water bill? What time will you be home? Can you pick up milk on your way back? We were roommates who occasionally had passionless, scheduled sex. Usually on Saturday nights. Usually in the dark. Usually over in less than 10 minutes. I felt invisible. At 32, I felt like I was already fading into the background of my own life. Then there was Marcus. Marcus Donovan moved in next door about 8 months before everything happened. He was 44, a lieutenant colonel in the army, recently separated from his wife who had stayed in Texas with their teenage son. He was tall, built like someone who actually used his gym membership, with grey threading through his dark hair and these intense brown eyes that seemed to actually see you when he looked at you. He was polite, kept to himself mostly, but whenever we ran into each other, he would smile this genuine smile and ask how I was doing like he actually cared about the answer. David liked him. They would talk about sports and politics over the fence on weekends. Marcus would help David with yard work sometimes. It was all very neighborly and innocent. Until it was not. The conversation that changed everything happened on a Tuesday night in April. David came home from work earlier than usual. I was in the kitchen, mindlessly chopping vegetables for a dinner I was not even hungry for, when he poured himself a bourbon and sat down at the kitchen island. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said. Those words. I immediately thought he was going to ask for a divorce. My stomach dropped. Despite everything, despite the loneliness and the monotony, the thought of losing the life I had built terrified me. "Okay," I said slowly, setting down the knife. "I have been thinking a lot about us lately," he began, swirling the bourbon in his glass. "About our marriage. About whether we are really happy or just going through the motions." "David, He held up his hand. "Let me finish. I love you, Sarah. I do. But I think we have gotten stuck. We are young enough to still have passion in our lives, but we have let ourselves become old. Boring. And I take responsibility for that. I have been thinking about how we can fix this. How we can feel something again." I waited, my heart pounding. "I want to propose something unconventional," he continued. "I want us to consider an open marriage. Just for a while. Just to see if experiencing other people helps us appreciate what we have. Helps us feel alive again. I stared at him. You want to sleep with other people. I want us both to have that freedom, he corrected. I want you to feel desired again, Sarah. I want you to remember what it is like to feel wanted. And honestly, I want to remember too. This does not have to mean the end of us. It could be the thing that saves us. I should have said no. I should have suggested marriage counseling or a vacation or literally anything else. But something in his words struck a chord. When was the last time I felt desired? When was the last time someone looked at me like I was more than just a fixture in their daily routine? I need time to think about this, I told him. Of course, he said, and he actually smiled. Like he had just proposed a weekend getaway instead of dismantling our marriage vows. I did not sleep that night. I lay next to David in our bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. Part of me was angry. Part of me was hurt that he wanted to be with other women. But another part of me, a part one had been suppressing for years, felt something else entirely. Possibility. The next morning, I was getting the mail when Marcus came out of his house in his running gear. He had just finished his morning run, and his t-shirt was damp with sweat. Morning, Sarah, he said with that smile. Morning, Marcus. You okay? You look like you did not sleep much. And that was the thing about Marcus. He noticed. He paid attention. Just a lot on my mind, I said. He walked over to the fence between our properties. Anything you want to talk about? I am a pretty good listener. Comes with the military training. I laughed, but it came out shaky. I do not think this is something I can really talk about. Fair enough, he said. But if you change your mind, I am right next door. Door is always open for a friend. A friend. When was the last time someone called me a friend? That afternoon, I told David yes. I agreed to the open marriage. But I had one condition. I get to choose first, I said. If I am going to do this, I need to be the one who decides who I am with. David looked surprised, but then he nodded. That is fair. Do you have someone in mind already? I did not answer right away. But I was already thinking about the man next door. The one who noticed when I did not sleep well. The one who smiled at me like I was worth smiling at. 3 days later, I knocked on Marcus's door at 7 in the evening. I was wearing a simple sundress, my hair down, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. He answered in jeans and a grey Henley, surprise crossing his face when he saw me. Sarah, everything all right? Can I come in? I asked. Of course. He stepped aside, and I walked into his living room. It was neat, minimally decorated, very much the home of a man living alone temporarily. Can I get you something to drink? Water. Wine. Wine would be good. He poured us both a glass of red wine, and we sat on his couch, the evening light streaming through his windows. So what is going on? He asked gently. I took a long sip of wine. And then I told him. I told him about David's proposal. About the open marriage. About how lonely I had been for so long. About how invisible I felt in my own life. Marcus listened without interrupting, his eyes never leaving my face. And why are you telling me this? He asked when I finished. My hands were shaking. Because I want you to be the person I choose. The silence that followed felt endless. I immediately regretted everything. I started to stand up, ready to run out of there and never make eye contact with him again. But then Marcus's hand wrapped around my wrist, gentle but firm. Wait, he said softly. Sarah, look at me. I turned to face him, and the way he was looking at me made my breath catch. There was desire there, yes, but also something deeper. Something careful. Are you absolutely sure this is what you want? He asked. Because once we cross this line, there is no going back. And I need you to be sure, because I have been attracted to you since the day I moved in, and if we do this, it will not be casual for me. I need you to know that. His honesty undid me. This man I barely knew was being more real with me than my husband had been in years. I am sure, I whispered. Marcus set down his wine glass and cupped my face in his hands. Then come here. When he kissed me, it was nothing like the perfunctory kisses I had grown used to. This was consuming. This was a man who kissed like he meant it, like he had been thinking about it, like I was something precious he had finally been given permission to touch. His hand slid into my hair, and I melted into him, every nerve ending in my body suddenly awake and screaming. He pulled back just enough to look at me, his breathing heavy. "Bedroom?" he asked. I nodded. He stood and took my hand, leading me down the hallway. His bedroom was as simple as the rest of the house, but I barely noticed. All I could focus on was the way he was looking at me as he slowly, deliberately, slid the straps of my sundress off my shoulders. "You are beautiful," he murmured, and I believed him. For the first time in years, I actually believed someone who said that to me. What happened next was not just sex. It was intentional. It was passionate. Marcus touched me like he was learning me, like every reaction I had mattered to him. He took his time. He asked me what I liked. He paid attention to my body in ways I had forgotten were possible. When it was over, we lay tangled in his sheets, both of us breathing hard, and I felt tears sliding down my temples. "Hey," Marcus said, turning to face me, concern in his eyes. "Are you okay? Did I hurt you?" "No," I whispered. "You did not hurt me. I just forgot. I forgot it could feel like that." He pulled me closer, pressing a kiss to my forehead. "Then we are going to have to make sure you do not forget again." I went home 2 hours later, my body still humming, my mind reeling. David was in his study working on a case. He looked up when I came in. "How was your evening?" he asked casually. "It was good," I said, and the lie felt strange in my mouth because it was not really a lie. It had been good. It had been extraordinary. "I am glad," David said, and he smiled at me before turning back to his computer. That was the moment I realized this was not going to go the way David planned. He thought this would be a simple arrangement. Something different to spice up our marriage. A controlled experiment. But what he did not understand was that you cannot control fire once you have lit the match. And Marcus had just set me ablaze. The second time I went to Marcus happened 3 days later, and I did not even pretend it was about anything other than wanting him. David was working late, which had become his new pattern since our open marriage agreement. I suspected he had already found someone, though he had not said anything, and I had not asked. We had established a strange new rhythm of polite distance, like two people orbiting the same house but living in different worlds. I texted Marcus at 8 that evening. "Are you home?" His response came immediately. "Yes. Come over." No questions. No games. Just an invitation that made my pulse quicken. This time when he opened the door, he did not wait for small talk. He pulled me inside, kicked the door shut behind us, and kissed me with an urgency that made my knees weak. His hands were in my hair, on my waist, everywhere, and I matched his intensity, clawing at his shirt, needing to feel his skin against mine. "I have been thinking about you every damn minute since Tuesday," he breathed against my mouth. "Then stop thinking and do something about it," I whispered back. He lifted me effortlessly, my legs wrapping around his waist as he carried me down the hallway. We did not make it to the bedroom this time. He set me on the hallway table, his hands already sliding up my thighs, pushing my skirt up around my hips. What followed was raw and desperate and absolutely nothing like the careful, considerate lovemaking of our first time. This was need. This was months of suppressed attraction finally unleashed. When he entered me, I gasped his name, and he buried his face in my neck, his breath hot against my skin. "God, Sarah," he groaned. "You feel incredible." I could not form words. All I could do was hold on to him as he moved, each thrust deliberate and deep, his hands gripping my hips hard enough to leave marks I would have to hide later. I did not care. In that moment, I did not care about anything except the way he was making me feel, the way he was looking at me like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. When we finally collapsed together, both of us shaking and breathless, he pressed his forehead against mine. "Stay," he said. "Just for a little while. Stay with me." So I did. We moved to his bedroom, and he held me against his chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my shoulder. We talked about everything and nothing. He told me about his son, Jason, who was 16 and passionate about baseball. He told me about his marriage, how it had fallen apart slowly over years of deployments and distance until neither of them recognized each other anymore. We grew into different people, he said quietly. And instead of growing together, we just grew apart. By the time I got the assignment here, we both knew it was over. We just had not said it out loud yet. Do you miss her? I asked. He was quiet for a moment. I miss the idea of what we were supposed to be. But no, I do not miss her. Not anymore. We made each other miserable toward the end. And Jason? That is the hard part, he admitted. I miss him every day. We video call when we can, but it is not the same. I am hoping he will come visit this summer, but his mother is making it difficult. I could hear the pain in his voice, and I pressed a kiss to his chest, right over his heart. What about you? He asked. Why did you really say yes to David's proposal? I thought about lying, about giving him some sanitized version of the truth. But Marcus had been honest with me, and he deserved the same. Because I was disappearing, I said. I have been disappearing for years, and I did not even realize it until he asked me to do this. I look in the mirror sometimes, and I do not recognize myself. I am 32, and I feel like my life is already over. Like I have already lived all the interesting parts, and now I am just waiting around for the rest of it to happen. When David suggested the open marriage, I was hurt and angry, but I was also relieved. Because it gave me permission to feel something again. To be something other than just his wife. You are so much more than just his wife, Marcus said fiercely, tilting my chin up so I had to look at him. You are intelligent and beautiful and passionate. And if he could not see that, then he is a fool. Tears pricked my eyes. You barely know me. Then let me know you, he said simply. Really know you. Not just this. He gestured between us. I want to know what you dream about. What makes you laugh? What you wanted to be when you were a little girl. I want all of it, Sarah. And that was when I realized I was in trouble. Because this was supposed to be simple. Physical. A way to feel alive again without emotional complications. But Marcus was offering me something I had not expected and had not prepared for. He was offering me intimacy. Over the next 2 weeks, I fell into a pattern. David would leave for work in the morning, and sometimes I would go to Marcus before he left for the base. We would have coffee together on his back porch, talking about our days, our lives, our hopes. Other times, I would wait until evening, and we would cook dinner together in his kitchen, something I had not done with David in years. David and I had fallen into a routine of ordering takeout or eating separately. And then there was the sex. God, the sex. Marcus was attentive and adventurous in ways that made me feel like I was discovering my own body for the first time. He learned what I liked, what made me gasp, what made me beg. He was not afraid to take control, but he also loved when I took control of him, when I pushed him back on the bed and showed him exactly what I wanted. One night, after we had exhausted ourselves, he traced the lines of my face in the darkness. I am falling for you, he said quietly. I know I should not be. I know this is supposed to be casual. But I am falling for you, Sarah, and I needed you to know. My heart stuttered. Marcus. You do not have to say anything, he said quickly. I just needed to be honest. I promised myself I would not lie to you about how I feel. But the truth was, I was falling too. Maybe I had already fallen. This had stopped being about feeling something different weeks ago. Now it was about feeling something real. David, meanwhile, seemed happier than he had been in years. He was lighter, more energetic. He started going to the gym again, buying new clothes, humming while he made his morning coffee. He did not talk about who he was seeing, and I did not ask, but it was obvious he had found someone. Someone who was making him feel the way Marcus made me feel. We were like two ships passing in the night, both of us anchored to something outside our marriage. One Saturday morning, David was working on his car in the driveway when Marcus came out to mow his lawn. I was watching from the kitchen window, my coffee mug warm in my hands, when David walked over to talk to him. I could not hear what they were saying, but they were both smiling, laughing about something. Marcus glanced toward my kitchen window, and our eyes met for just a second before he looked away. The normalcy of it was surreal. My husband and my lover, chatting like neighbors, while I stood in the kitchen of the home I shared with one of them, thinking about the feel of the other one's hands on my skin. That night, David suggested we have dinner together. Actual dinner, at the table, like a married couple. I feel like we have not really talked in a while, he said. And I want to check in. See how you are doing with everything. We sat across from each other with pasta and wine, and for the first time in weeks, I really looked at my husband. He looked younger somehow. Energized. So how are you finding the arrangement? He asked, twirling pasta on his fork. It has been good, I said carefully. Different. How about you? He smiled. Really good, actually. I have been seeing someone from my firm. Rachel. She is a junior partner, 36, divorced. It has been nice to feel that excitement again, you know? That newness. Rachel. He was giving me a name. Making her real. Have you been seeing anyone? He asked casually. I took a sip of wine to buy myself time. Yes. Someone I trust. Good, David said, and he actually looked pleased. That is good, Sarah. I am glad you are finding what you need. I really think this is healthy for us. I think we are going to come out of this stronger. I nodded, but I could not shake the feeling that David fundamentally misunderstood what was happening. He thought we were both scratching an itch, exploring something novel before coming back to each other renewed. He did not realize that I had found something I did not want to come back from. Later that night, after David had gone to bed, I snuck out to Marcus's house. He was waiting for me on his couch, and when I walked in, he pulled me into his arms. I saw you and David talking earlier, he said. Are you okay? He asked about the arrangement. I told him. He seems happy. He is seeing someone from his office. Marcus's jaw tightened. And how do you feel about that? Honestly, I do not know. I should feel jealous or hurt, but I just feel nothing. Is that terrible? No, Marcus said, pressing a kiss to my temple. It means you have already checked out of that marriage. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I pulled back to look at him. What do you want me to do about it? His eyes were intense, searching mine. I want you to leave him. I want you to be with me, really be with me. Not sneaking around, not hiding. I want to wake up with you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. I want to take you out to dinner and hold your hand in public. I want all of it, Sarah. My breath caught. Marcus, it is complicated. The house, our finances, everything is tangled together. I know it is complicated, he interrupted. I went through a divorce, remember? I know it is messy and hard and painful. But I also know that staying in something that is already dead is worse. And your marriage is dead, Sarah. You know it is. Tears spilled down my cheeks because he was right. My marriage had been dead for years. We had just been two people too afraid of change to bury it. I need time, I whispered. Please, just give me a little more time to figure this out. Marcus cupped my face, wiping away my tears with his thumbs. I will give you all the time you need. But I need you to promise me something. What? Promise me you are not going to use time as an excuse to stay stuck. Promise me you are actually going to figure out what you want and go after it. I promise, I said, and I meant it. He kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of a tenderness that made my chest ache. We made love on his couch that night, slow and deliberate, and when I came apart in his arms, I whispered his name like a prayer. But as I walked back to my house in the early hours of the morning, slipping into bed next to my sleeping husband, I knew the truth. I had already made my choice. I had made it the first night I knocked on Marcus's door. Everything since then had just been me gathering the courage to admit it. The real question was whether I was brave enough to blow up my entire life for a man I had known for less than a year. The answer came 2 days later, in the most unexpected way possible. I was at the grocery store when I saw David. With Rachel. His hand was on the small of her back, and they were laughing together in the produce section, looking at avocados like it was the most delightful thing in the world. She was beautiful, polished, professional. Everything I had stopped trying to be years ago. And David looked at her the way he used to look at me, back when we first met and everything was new and possible. I should have felt devastated. Instead, I felt free. I walked up to them, and David's face went pale when he saw me. Sarah, he stammered. This is Rachel. Hi, Rachel said, clearly uncomfortable but trying to be polite. It is nice to meet you. You too, I said, and I actually smiled. David, can we talk? Just for a minute. We stepped away from Rachel, and David looked terrified, like he was bracing for me to make a scene. I want a divorce, I said quietly. His eyes went wide. What? Sarah, this is what we agreed to. This is. I know what we agreed to, I interrupted. But I do not want this anymore. I do not want to be married to someone I am not in love with. And I do not think you want that either. Look at you with her. You are happy. Really happy. And I am happy too, with someone else. So let us just be honest about what this is. It is over, David. It has been over for a long time. We were just too scared to say it. David stared at me, and I watched a dozen emotions cross his face. Shock. Relief. Sadness. And finally, acceptance. Okay, he said softly. Okay. You are right. God, Sarah, you are right. We stood there in the middle of the grocery store, two people finally admitting that the life we had built together no longer fit either of us. I will move out, I said. You can have the house. I just want to split things fairly and move on. Who is it? He asked. Who are you in love with? I hesitated, then decided he deserved the truth. Marcus. Our neighbor. David's eyebrows shot up. Marcus? Seriously? Seriously. He laughed, a short, surprised sound. Wow. Okay. I did not see that coming. Neither did I admitted. We stood there for another moment, and then David pulled me into a hug. I hope he makes you happy, Sarah. I really do. You deserve to be happy. So do you, I whispered. When I got home, I walked straight next door and knocked. Marcus opened it, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. I told him, I said. I asked for a divorce. Marcus's face transformed. You did. I did. And I want to be with you. Really be with you. If you still want that. He answered by kissing me breathless, lifting me up and spinning me around, both of us laughing and crying at the same time. Of course I still want that, he said. I have wanted that since the moment you walked through my door and changed my entire life. That night, I did not sneak back home. I stayed with Marcus, in his bed, in his arms, and for the first time in 12 years, I fell asleep feeling like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. But happy endings do not come without consequences, and the price for my freedom was about to become devastatingly clear. The thing about burning down your life is that you do not just destroy what was broken. You destroy everything, including the parts you did not realize you still needed. The divorce proceedings started smoothly enough. David and I were civil, almost friendly. We hired a mediator instead of lawyers, and we split everything down the middle. He kept the house, I took half the savings, and we divided our possessions like two roommates ending a lease. No drama. No fighting. Just two people dismantling 12 years of marriage with the same efficiency we had used to build it. Our families were a different story. My mother called me a fool. She said I was throwing away a good man for some midlife crisis fling with a soldier who would probably deploy and forget about me. David's parents, who I had loved like my own, stopped speaking to me entirely. His mother sent me a single text that said, "We thought you were better than this." Friends took sides. Some supported me. Others whispered behind my back about how I had destroyed a perfectly good marriage for an affair with the neighbor. The judgment was suffocating, but I could handle it because I had Marcus. Except Marcus came with complications I had not fully considered. 2 months after I moved into a small apartment across town, Marcus got a call from his ex-wife, Jennifer. Their son Jason had found out about me, and he was not taking it well. Jennifer had apparently told him that his father had left their family for another woman, which was not true, but the damage was done. He does not want to talk to me, Marcus told me one night, his voice hollow as he stared at his phone. He says I abandoned them. That I chose you over him. I watched the man I loved break apart, and I did not know how to fix it. Marcus, that is not true. You and Jennifer were already separated when we met. I know that. You know that. But he is 16, Sarah. His parents are divorced, his life got turned upside down, and now there is some woman he has never met in the picture. Of course he is angry. So what do you want to do? I asked carefully. He looked at me with such pain in his eyes that it physically hurt. I do not know. I am supposed to see him next month when he comes to visit. But Jennifer is threatening to cancel the trip if I do not promise that you will not be around. My stomach dropped. Oh. I am not agreeing to that, he said quickly. You are part of my life now. I am not going to hide you or pretend you do not exist. But I also cannot lose my son, Sarah. He is everything to me. We were sitting on opposite ends of a problem with no good solution, and the weight of it settled between us like a third person in the room. Maybe I should not be around when he visits, I offered quietly. Just this first time. Let you two reconnect without the complication of me being there. Then maybe later, when things settle down, we can figure out how to introduce us properly. Marcus pulled me into his arms. I do not deserve you. Yes, you do, I whispered. But even as I said it, I wondered if we deserved the chaos we had created. Jason's visit got cancelled anyway. Jennifer claimed he had a baseball tournament, but we both knew it was an excuse. Marcus tried calling his son repeatedly, but Jason would not answer. The rejection devastated him in ways I had never seen. This strong, capable military officer became a broken man who stared at his phone every night, hoping for a message that never came. I tried to be supportive, but the truth was, I felt helpless. And worse, I felt guilty. Maybe if Marcus had not met me, he would have had more time to repair his relationship with his son before introducing someone new. Maybe I had rushed into his life and complicated everything. Then there was David. 3 months after our divorce was finalized, I ran into him at a coffee shop. He was with Rachel, and they looked happy. Genuinely happy. She was showing him something on her phone, and he was laughing, and for a moment I felt a pang of something that was not quite jealousy but was not quite nothing either. Sarah, he said when he saw me. Hey. How are you? Good, I said. Really good. You? Great, actually. Rachel and I just got engaged. The words hit me harder than I expected. Engaged. He had moved on so completely, so quickly. Meanwhile, I was living in a tiny apartment, watching the man I loved suffer through the loss of his relationship with his son, and wondering if I had made a terrible mistake. Congratulations, I managed. That is wonderful. Rachel smiled at me, and it was genuine. Thank you. And I just want to say, I appreciate how mature you and David have been through all of this. It makes everything so much easier. Mature. Right. I felt anything but mature as I walked back to my car and sat in the driver's seat, crying for reasons I could not fully articulate. That night, Marcus found me on the couch, staring at nothing. What is wrong? He asked, sitting beside me. I saw David today. He is engaged to Rachel. Marcus was quiet for a moment. How do you feel about that? I do not know, I admitted. I do not want him back. I do not love him. But it feels like he got to move on without consequences, you know? He has the house, he has someone new who did not come with complicated baggage, and everyone thinks he is the good guy who handled his divorce with grace. Meanwhile, I am the woman who blew up her marriage for an affair with the neighbor. Is that what you think this is? Marcus asked quietly. An affair? No, I said quickly. That is not what I meant. I guess I am realizing that leaving David was the easy part. Building something new is so much harder than I thought it would be. Marcus took my hand. Sarah, look at me. I turned to face him. I love you, he said. I love you more than I have ever loved anyone. But I need to know that you are all in with this. With us. Because if you are having second thoughts, if you are questioning whether this was worth it, then we need to talk about that now. I am not having second thoughts about you, I said firmly. I am just scared. I am scared that your son will never accept me. I am scared that we will never get past all this baggage. I am scared that I traded one complicated life for another one. Life is complicated, Marcus said. There is no version of this where everything is perfect and easy. But the question is not whether it is hard. The question is whether it is worth it. I looked at this man who had shown me what it meant to be truly seen, truly wanted, truly loved. This man who was fighting for his relationship with his son while also fighting for his relationship with me. This man who had never once made me feel like I was too much or not enough. "It is worth it," I said. "You are worth it." He kissed me then, soft and slow, and I felt some of the fear loosen its grip on my chest. But the universe was not done testing us. A week later, Marcus got orders. He was being reassigned to Germany for 2 years. It was a promotion, a good career move, something he could not turn down without serious consequences for his future in the military. "Come with me," he said the night he told me. "We can get married. You can come with me to Germany, and we can start fresh. No judgmental families, no exes, no history. Just us." I stared at him. "Marcus, that is a huge ask. I would have to leave my job, my friends, everything I know." "I know," he said. "And I am not trying to pressure you. But Sarah, I am asking you to build a life with me. A real life. Not sneaking around, not dealing with everyone's opinions, just us figuring it out together." "What about Jason?" I asked. Pain flashed across his face. "I am hoping that some distance and time will help. That maybe when he is a little older, he will understand. And Germany is not that far. I can still fly back to see him, or he can come visit us. But I cannot put my life on hold waiting for him to forgive me for something I did not actually do wrong." He was right. He had not done anything wrong. His marriage had ended before I came into the picture. But guilt does not care about timelines. I spent 3 days thinking about his proposal. 3 days weighing my options, my fears, my desires. On the 3rd day, I called my mother. We had not spoken much since the divorce, but I needed to hear her voice. "Mom," I said when she answered. "I need advice." There was a long pause. Then she sighed. "Okay. I am listening." I told her everything. About Marcus's orders, about his proposal, about my fear and my love and my complete uncertainty about what to do. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Sarah," she finally said, "I was hard on you when you left David. I thought you were being selfish and impulsive. But the truth is, I stayed in a marriage I was not happy in for 30 years because I was too scared to leave. Your father and I were never really in love. We were comfortable. We were safe. And I woke up one day at 60 years old and realized I had spent my entire adult life playing it safe and being miserable." I had never heard my mother talk like this. "Mom, I did not know." "I know you did not," she interrupted. "Because I hid it. Just like you hid how unhappy you were with David for years. We are good at that, we women. Good at pretending everything is fine when we are dying inside. So here is my advice. If you love this man, if he makes you feel alive and seen and valued, then go to Germany. Take the risk. Because the alternative is spending the rest of your life wondering what if, and that is a special kind of hell." I was crying by the time she finished. "Thank you, Mom. I love you, Sarah. And I am sorry I was not more supportive before. I want you to be happy. Really happy. Even if it is scary." 2 days later, I said yes to Marcus. We got married in a small courthouse ceremony with 2 witnesses we pulled off the street. It was not the wedding I had imagined as a little girl, but it was perfect because it was real. We moved to Germany 3 months later. The transition was hard. I had to learn a new language, find a new job, build a new life in a foreign country. But Marcus was patient and supportive, and slowly, I found my footing. Jason still was not speaking to Marcus regularly, but they were texting occasionally. Small steps. Marcus sent him care packages and money for baseball equipment. He video called when Jason would allow it. It was not the relationship Marcus wanted, but it was something. And Marcus held on to hope that one day, when Jason was older and could see the situation more clearly, they would rebuild what had been broken. As for me, I learned that love is not about finding someone who makes life easy. It is about finding someone who makes the hard parts worth it. Someone who sees you at your worst and chooses you anyway. Someone who holds your hand through the chaos and reminds you why you were brave enough to choose something real over something comfortable. A year after we moved to Germany, I woke up in our small apartment in Stuttgart, Marcus's arm draped over my waist, and I realized something profound. I was happy. Not the numb, going through the motions contentment I had with David. Real, complicated, messy, beautiful happiness. Yes, I had blown up my old life. Yes, there were consequences. Yes, some relationships were damaged, maybe permanently. But I had also found myself again. The version of me that had dreams and desires and the courage to go after what she wanted, even when it was terrifying. The lesson I learned is this: sometimes the right choice is not the easy one. Sometimes love requires you to be brave enough to disappoint people, to face judgment, to risk everything for something that might not work out. And sometimes, if you are very lucky, it does work out. Not perfectly. Not without scars. But in a way that makes you grateful you were brave enough to try. David wanted to give me something different to make me feel alive again. What he did not realize was that different was not enough. I needed real. I needed someone who saw me, all of me, and loved what they saw. I found that in Marcus. And while the path to get here was messy and painful and full of consequences I am still living with, I would make the same choice again. Because I would rather have a complicated life with someone I love than a simple life with someone I do not. That is the truth no one tells you about infidelity, about open marriages, about burning down your life for passion. The question is not whether it is right or wrong. The question is whether you can live with the consequences. Whether the person on the other side of that choice is worth every single thing you had to sacrifice to get to them. For me, Marcus was worth it. And every morning I wake up next to him, I am reminded that I made the right choice. Not the easy one. Not the one everyone would approve of. But the right one for me. So that is my story. The shocking, messy, complicated truth about how my husband asked for an open marriage and I chose our next-door neighbor. How it destroyed my old life and built something new from the ashes. How I learned that sometimes the most vulnerable moment of your life is also the moment that sets you free. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think about my choices? Do you think I was brave or selfish? Do you think open marriages can ever work, or are they just a path to destruction? Have you ever had to choose between what is comfortable and what is real? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love hearing your perspectives. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you have not already subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button so you never miss another story. Your support means everything to me, and it is what keeps these stories coming. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.